Most companies go out of business in the third generation. The grandpa built it, dad maintained it, son basically ruins it. Probably about 8 years ago, I weighed 350 pounds. I was at a point where I was like, you know what? Nothing's getting better in life. I feel pretty burnt out. And I was like, this might be the day I just take a bullet, and that's a wrap. Me and my dad didn't take a paycheck for that 6 weeks. We paid our employees and not ourselves.
Do you think there's any difference between taking a company from like a 6-figure to a 7-figure to now to an 8-figure income type business?
She calls me and she's like, hey, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, okay. She's like, it's not yours. And I'm like,
That's a blow.
okay. Oh, I was like, how do I react to this? Like, what do I do? So I got.
Welcome to the Legacy and Wealth Podcast, a show for our proven high-earning men who value wealth, character, and a lasting legacy. Brought to you by The Standard, a private membership community for high performers. My name is Mitchell Clark, and today I'm joined by fellow Standard member, Matt Cook.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So let's start off with the first question. How do you currently make money?
Well, I am a third generation owner of a wholesale manufacturing hat company.
Interesting. Okay. Go into that a little bit more. How does that work?
Oh man, so we mass produce Western hats, cowboy hats, fedoras, different types of lifestyle type hats that lots of people wear all throughout the U.S. My dad is the second owner. His dad is the founder. So I'll make a long story as short as possible. His dad worked for a company and came here from Chicago in the 1920s, and they built the original factory in downtown Dallas, and Garland was trying to be basically a hub of Dallas to do all their manufacturing so they could get all of it out of downtown Dallas. They moved to Garland. Garland gave them free water for 40 years since it takes a lot of water, steam, heat, all of that to make hats. So they put them on a creek, they built a factory, and they opened that one in 1939. So that's how he got started, and he worked up all his way up to be what they call a master hatter, which is somebody who could build a hat from the ground up. They could do every piece, every little division of what it takes to create a hat from nothing to something, to the final end product. And they put him in business to make all of their Stetson straw hats in a factory across the street in the 50s. So he did that from 1958 to 1968, and in 68, they went bankrupt the first time. So whenever they went bankrupt, they said, well, we can't pay you anymore, but you can go ahead and keep the factory. And he said, okay, well, I'll just make my own brand, see if I can get a contract license with Stetson, and see what we can do from there. So he started his own Master Hatters of Texas brand, and then he also got a contract with Stetson whenever they rebranded into the new company they were in, and he made cowboy hats for them. Made all their straw hats from 68 to the mid-'80s, and my dad came in 1978 whenever his dad passed away. My grandma had a restaurant that was in front of the store. He had a heart attack eating at her restaurant. And my dad was working with him part-time during the summer because he was a full-time football coach, first one in our family to go to college, got 4 degrees, but he loved coaching football, and that's what he thought he had to do the rest of his life since he was a college athlete, all of that. And he got into it, and he goes, you know what? I'm doing sales in the summer. I'm helping my dad. There's 4 of us here. I'm making $10,000 in the summer, and I make $8,000 as a school teacher all year. I'll give it a shot. And that's how it got started.
Okay. So definitely a big family legacy, it seems like here. So let's talk about your journey and how did you get into this field? Were you always in the hat business?
No. So my dad said from the time I was a kid, he's like, I want you to come up here and work and learn the value of hard work, and you're going to get your hands dirty and know what that's like. Okay. But I never want you involved in this business because it is very hard. It's very up and down. You don't know when people are just going to go out of business, not pay you. You're just kind of out of luck when that happens because he's like, I've had notes called in where somebody owed me $500,000 and they just dissolve. And that bankruptcy's not going to get you paid. It's just done. You just lost.
That sounds terrible.
Either you go out of business or you figure out a way to make it happen. So he's like, I'm never going to get you involved in this business. I said, okay, that's fine, no problem. So I was in a previous career as a regional vice president for a company called AMF Bowling Worldwide. And worked my way up from being a counter front desk attendant all the way up to a regional vice president over the course of like 10 years, from my high school years all the way through. And they went bankrupt in 2008.
Oh, man.
And in 2008, my dad went from 77 employees to 4 overnight because all of his customers went out of business. There wasn't any major chains back then. It was a bunch of mom and pops. He always says, he's like, I had 2,000 stores in Oklahoma. All of them but 2 went out of business in 2008. So they were all gone. Nothing was there. Nobody was buying anything. And he said, you know, you went out of business. Your company went out of business. We're on the verge of it. Do you want to come learn this business again? I know you did it as a kid, but you get back out in the factory, you learn how to make everything, and we'll go from there. And then I need help with Office, internet, a new platform that was at the time called EDI. It's still called EDI, but there's a bunch of variants of it now. And so he wanted to learn how to do all that so we could service bigger clients and work with major companies. And he's like, you can do that after work. I said, okay, no problem. So I took a shot and decided to do that. And here we are almost 18 years later.
So let's go into this. When you stepped in to take over to what it is now, how was it doing in the beginning when you stepped in, and then what have you grown it to be now?
Oh man, 2008, we were working 3.5 days a week with 8 people. So we worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, half day on Thursday, off on Friday. And we were probably, if I'm going to be honest and try to remember back then, we're probably making right at maybe 800 to $1 million a year.
Okay.
800,000 to $1 million.
Sure.
This past year, I mean, our year is technically not over for 2025 since our fiscal year is July to June. But if you did a regular fiscal year of 2025, we hit 10.3 million.
That's impressive. That's
So
very
yeah,
impressive.
it's scaled up quite a bit, and a lot of that's due to COVID too.
Okay, that's interesting. So we'll kind of go through that. So you stepped in, recession hit you and your dad really, really hard.
Yep.
And it sounds like rather than, take it lying down, you came back, you helped him, and then you were able to grow it. What were some of the first things you're doing there to help get it back in shape and start growing that business?
So the first thing was I had to relearn how to do everything in the factory. Obviously, I did it as a kid, but I'd never done it as an adult. So it was going back in and actually going through the process and seeing what we could try to do. Same thing. I had a mechanic that had been around forever, and his son took over, and he was doing that as well. And he's around the same age as me. So me and him were both looking at it. We're like, okay, what can we do to simplify this process as far as like with a blocking machine. Specifically, it had so many different levers, so many different moving parts. And we're like, can we automate this in any way where we can get it on a lever system or a push button system so that we can make more hats? And we thought about it, changed some stuff around, and eventually made up something. And everything in the hat business is super old school. Like most of the machinery we have was probably originated in the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Okay.
So you just, and it's all brass and steel, and it's old and it hasn't been evolved, and there's no need for it to be evolved because it works. And it's the process that works. And it was just going through and finding different things. So that was the first thing, was just learning how to do all that. And then the second thing was doing stuff in the office at night, because I had no idea. I came from a corporate background, so everything there was super automated. They had their own systems of everything. Registers were automated. Everything was very, very detailed. There was a super schedule for it. And then coming into a small business and going, oh, there is no procedure for this. There is no certain step for this. This computer system was built by hand by a guy who became a U.S. citizen that came from Taiwan and worked at AT&T on the 1-800 number. So, it was just it was a different learning curve trying to figure all that stuff out. And it was like, okay, well, how can we build this all up to be more integrated and run better with how we want to run our inventory and all those processes?
Okay, so it sounds like you started with the systems first. What were some of the most, what do you think are some of the most important systems that you implemented that started getting the business back up and rolling?
Getting EDI online. EDI online, which is electronic delivery of instructions. Basically, it's them sending packets of information to us so that we don't have to manually enter orders.
For the hats?
For the
like
hats,
instructions for custom. Okay, gotcha.
Correct. So if a customer called in, we had to take all their information down, like their name, address, billing zip code, and then we'd have to enter that in one system, enter that in a different system, and then put it into a UPS system or FedEx system or whoever they wanted to ship with. So multiple layers, multiple people involved. Everything used to be done by hand in the office. Like you would just take phone calls, handwrite everything, and then you would take that ticket out to the floor and put it to work. So it was, if you had a store that had, let's just say, a store on the West Coast that had like 30 stores. Well, that's all well and good, but if they're ordering 50, 60 hats per store, say, once a week, well, that's having to manually input a couple hundred hats and then take it out to somebody and tell them how to make it and all that. So we're like, okay, well, we can integrate a system that's a number code base that they had already worked out in general, but we redefined it and made it simpler where everybody could understand it, where it could be a shortened, condensed version of, okay, this number means this number means this number means this, and just streamline the whole process. And then we could integrate that into a computer system where it would be UPC codes that could pop out, and they could just order based off a UPC code. So basically, it went from having to manually enter thousands and thousands of hats per week to doing it with one download.
So what was the consequence of that? Okay, so you have the system, it's in place. What was the impact of implementing that?
Just the amount of time it saved.
Okay.
Office-wise and factory-wise.
I'm assuming that helped cut down costs too, just man hours.
It helped cut down cost. It made things in the factory more efficient, and it made us be able to get more dozens out the door.
As you were going through all this, and we can even go back to your previous job, what was the hardest day that you had before you found all this success?
Hardest day. I would probably say 2020. We'll just go with COVID.
Okay.
Before we knew what was going on.
Okay.
Before there was any knowledge of COVID, just, hey, we're going to shut down, we're going to do this. And I'm like, oh, great. The same thing that happened in 2008 is happening again.
Okay.
I was like, one, what are we going to do? It so happened that our banker was a phenomenal person, and she's like, look, we're a small bank. We're not Chase. We're going to get you the PPP loan. Don't worry about it. She's like, we're going to cover you. It might take us a little while, but we're going to get it. We're like, okay, not a problem. People need to stay home for 6 weeks. No problem. We'll do that too. I was like, but I'll be here at the factory every day. I'll still take phone calls if somebody has a question. Mm-hmm. I'll still let them know, hey, we have materials. We will be back in stock. We are prepared. We are ready as soon as things open back up. And those 6 weeks sitting in the office talking to other customers of ours that are bigger and smaller, and them not knowing what they're going to do and specifically how they're planning on things, and that part itself was probably the most stressful. And then me and my dad didn't take a paycheck for that 6 weeks. We paid our employees and not ourselves. And we didn't even get the PPP loan until probably 3 or 4 months later. So we never took a payroll for 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
So we just let our employees keep getting paid so we could keep them all. We didn't want to lose anybody because we just knew it's going to come back. We were already on a good building block with our major customer because they had already gotten up to about 300 stores at the time. So we're like, okay, they're growing. Our other customer, that's another big customer, same thing. They had just opened probably 30 new stores in that year, in 2019. So we're like, okay, cool. They're growing. Everybody's growing. 6 weeks off isn't going to be that big of a deal. They're going to come back, and obviously they see something. And also at that same time, Westworld came out on HBO, and that was Western focused. Yellowstone came out in 2018 as well, so that started picking up, and you could just kind of tell something was coming.
Okay. So, because I know for a lot of people, especially I had a dad that he was a real estate agent. So during the 2008, 2009 real estate crash, obviously the entire market was down pretty hard. So I remember when COVID came around and things were shutting down, that same sort of like gut instinct reaction of like, oh no, I can't handle another one of those. So when you and your dad were staring down the barrel of a gun, like emotionally, how did you all deal with it, and how did you kind of stay engaged to go through that 3-4 month period and weather that storm?
Well, we can relate that more back to me, not my dad, because at that point, my dad actually is funny. He broke his ankle and it was like at the same time that Dak Prescott broke his ankle.
Oh, no.
And they had the exact same break. They even had the same doctor. And he's like, Dak's going to heal in like 4 months, and you're going to heal. It's going to take you a year. And he didn't walk for like 6-8 months.
Okay.
So he was just in a wheelchair. He didn't even come in during COVID. It was all me dealing with everything.
Okay.
Because this was like maybe 2 months before that. So for us, we had already heard, because I have lots of suppliers all over the world, and we already heard people in China like, hey, stock up on this, something's coming. I'm like, okay. So we ordered extra material. We even ordered extra toilet paper. Like, we had everything. We had everything planned out because we already knew. We had a heads up. And I have a friend who lives internationally as well, and he got really sick, and he's like, hey, there's some super virus coming because there's a lot of people in Italy getting sick. And I'm like, okay. So again, same thing. We just kind of prepared, and we're ready to be able to handle whatever came our way. Granted, yeah, whenever they're like, you're not essential, shut down.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that part was tough, but we knew something was coming, and we'd be ready when it was time to do that. So yeah, was I the only one that worked for 6 weeks? Yes.
Okay.
Did I get paid? No. Did I make sure my employees could come back and be in a safe environment and be able to take care of their families? Absolutely.
Okay. That's really cool. And I know for a lot of people, going through 6 weeks, 3 months, whatever, where you don't know. Because, I mean, at that time, sure, you had a little bit of knowledge that something was coming, but I don't think
you didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, no one knew. I don't think anyone saw just how impactful that would be. And no one knew, like, how long is this going to last?
No,
I think
not
everybody
at all.
thought it'd be like a couple weeks, we get over it, we move forward.
Yeah.
But as that kind of kept going on, I mean, what was kind of going through your head as like time was going on? Were you ever like, oh man, are we ever going to come back online?
No. So for us, after that first 6 weeks, we came back. Our biggest supplier is based in California, so it probably took them 8 weeks to do anything. But the lady who had just inherited the buying position was the former assistant for the buyer at the time. So she kind of knew what was going on. She had a good relationship with us, and I talked to her almost every day throughout COVID. So we kind of solidified our relationship, and she's like, look, here's the deal. You're the only one that has anything. Everybody else's manufacturing shut down. Nobody has anything. She's like, I want everything you have. I said, okay, no problem. She's like, I don't even care if it's something I carry or not. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, if you have like leftover junk that's been sitting there that you don't use, or a style that maybe got discontinued that you just have sitting around, we want all of it. I said, okay. I was like, I'm more than happy. She's like, I don't even want it discounted. I want you to give it to me at regular price because I want to support you too.
Okay.
So that was step one coming out of COVID, was like, okay, well, we got our biggest retailer back online real quick.
Okay.
And then for us, it's just been this weird building of small momentum over, I mean, we hired our social media guy in 2021. He took over the website, did a rebranded, new logo, but that was for our 55th year in business. So just lots of different little things we implemented throughout those years. And it's just kind of been a slow boil until it just has hit a crescendo the last 2 years.
Okay. So it sounds like to me, from what you're explaining, is because rather than kind of shrink back, because you kind of remain engaged during that like lull time period, it sounds like you were kind of the only game in town that was still like actively in the, maybe not the only one, but one of the few that was kind of prepared for that boom whenever it came back.
As far as wholesale, there's not a lot of people that make all their stuff in the U.S.
Sure.
Like we just import raw material.
Right.
Because there's nobody in the U.S. making it anymore. But there's very few that make their complete hat in the U.S. Even the top name that everybody knows, they don't even make everything in the U.S. So it's real hard to be able to just go, we're going to do this on a dime and we can turn. It's like if the biggest player in the game in wholesale, which is not us, goes and they go, okay, we have this whole program going. Well, they can't turn that off. They have to keep going until they run out of material, or they get new material, or they can switch over to a different software or a different system or whatever the customer might want. Somebody tells me we want to do something different, we can do it tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's just a totally different mindset.
Okay. All right. So you got through it. What happened after the 3 to 6 months? So then people and businesses started coming back online. You're one of the few people that's there kind of ready to go back. What did the bounce back look like? You mentioned the
So-
social media guy in 2021.
Yes, yeah, social media guy. He got the Instagram and Facebook going pretty good. I mean, my sister did it before that, and she was just engaging with people by doing giveaways. And that worked out pretty well for us too. But with him actually getting like curated content, doing photo shoots on ranches, like we go visit all these people just to go, okay, yeah, these people wear our hats. And these are like my buddy who lives in Granbury, who's like a 3-time world champion. He loves our hats. He sends me stuff all the time, like just pictures of him. We're like, let's go out and do a photo shoot with him and his wife, his horses and everything. And we go out there. Turns out great. He has a bunch of his horse people come down that he's been training from all over Texas. And we have a great turnout, do like a huge little rodeo scene. It just kind of blows up on social media. So that's great for us. And around that time too, I feel like this probably happened in a couple of different industries. Events started coming back huge.
Right.
Because they were all shut down. Nobody could do anything. Everybody wanted to get out and travel. Everybody wanted to go do something. And then so we just started having people that were like, oh yeah, I got this order to go sell hats at an event. Can you get us 500 hats? Sure, no problem. Pay for it up front and I'll sell you the hats. And so that's become a huge thing now. People are doing weddings, doing concerts, doing just random booked venues, corporate events, you name it, everything. And we were probably the first one to cater towards that. So it was, we had our main retail, but we also catered towards those people.
Okay. That's a really incredible story. And I think it resonates with a lot of people, especially when times are tough. Just kind of that lesson of staying engaged and pushing through it and being prepared whenever the other side comes around. For a lot of people, and that's including back in the 2008, 2009 recession, as well as during the COVID lockdown. As soon as the business popped back up, everyone that was ready really made out very well with it.
Yeah, and like before COVID, we were probably at maybe 3 million a year.
Okay.
And then we just,
Which is still impressive.
it's still pretty good, but then we blew it up after that. It might have been 2.5, but yeah, after that, we were ready.
That's awesome.
We were ready to go.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Well, so throughout all that, throughout this entire story, what was probably the biggest lesson that you learned just going through that entire journey?
I'm going to say the same thing that I tell everybody, and that I tell all my people that I met with, especially last week at our biggest market. Everything changes every day. There is nothing that is the same as it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, last year. Everything's evolving. Everything changes. Style changes. People's head shape changes. People's head size changes. Like there's just so many things that change. It's even like now. We have so much business. It's another change. How do you adapt to having more business than you can even handle? So everything changes, and you just got to be ready to try to make that transition to what the next thing is. So we're in the process of building a second factory next to us, and we already bought machinery from a company that went out of business over the summer. So we're just in the process of trying to grow like everybody else.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to lead to my next question. Since you're trying to expand, what's your vision for the next few years? So you've brought it from like 800K annual revenue now to 10 million. I mean, do you feel capped out? You're going to keep growing? Or what's your plans for the future?
Right now, until we get the warehouse, we are capped out.
Okay.
There's no more I can like.
No more hats coming out of there.
When I say we got to order in the last week, I mean we are stepping over hats. We're like, okay, I have all these hats on order, but now I have all these hats in the warehouse because we only can have so many people
That's so great.
on so much machinery to make these.
Yeah.
And if you would have told me, hey, y'all be shipping out 1,200 hats a day, I would think you're crazy. There's no way. How could 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 hats a week if we work Saturdays? I don't see how that many people want hats. So to me, it's phenomenal. It's great. I understand a lot of people just like to wear them for a concert or to a rodeo, and then they throw it away or whatever. But
Gotta get
hey,
another one.
We're here for it. Yeah, you want to keep buying them? We're here for it.
All right, fair enough. If you want to connect with high performers like today's and previous guests, I want to invite you to apply to join the Standard. We are a private membership community that improves the health, wealth, and relationships for six-figure earners who perform at the highest level physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and financially. What we offer is simple. We will give you a vetted local brotherhood of men on your level or above. We will give you a customized plan to build true generational wealth. We will give you a personal liaison to achieve all of your goals. If you are tired of being the most successful person in your circle, frustrated with always pouring into others, and not having anyone to pour into you. Or you want to have conversations like the ones you're hearing today, in person, on a weekly basis with fellow high performers. Go to thestandardmen.com to apply. That's thestandardmen.com. Hit the link in the description below. Now back to the episode. Well, with all the success you've had, and it's a phenomenal story, what made you look at the Standard, and what made you ultimately want to join it?
That's a good story. So a couple of months ago, oh man, this is probably back in early September. A buddy that I know who's a business owner as well, he has a telecommunications company and a catering kitchen, which the catering kitchen is about to go bye-bye, but they're going to go all in on they already have, the telecommunications company is huge, but the catering company was like a side project that they were trying to work on, and it's not going to survive. But me and him, he was going through a breakup with his fiance, and I was like, hey, let me get you out of the house. Let's go up to Broken Bow, just have a guy's weekend. Mm-hmm. We can just go hang out, get you some time away. You just need to be out of the house. And he's like, okay, cool. So we go up there, we just hang out. We both take our cars. We have fast cars. We like driving fast. So we're just on the back roads hanging out. Okay. Sat in the hot tub, watched some F1 on TV. Like, we had a good time. And he just looked at me one night, and he was like, hey, he's like, do you ever look around at our friends and nobody's at our level? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I feel like we had the same conversation last year, but it never went anywhere. And he's like, but where do you go to find people that are, more motivated or more driven or kind of have your same mindset, or people who are scaling a business and people who are, focused on that stuff and not just the same old that everybody's been working on forever. Like, just, oh yeah, we can go out and have dinner with friends, but like, who are these people that want to encourage you and motivate you and push you to be better? Yeah. And I was like, no, that's a really good point. I honestly don't know. So the first thing I did whenever I got home on Sunday night was just type that into Google. Like, hey, where can I meet like-minded guys that, have the same type of ambitious mindset and want to drive and want to push and be better and want to fix other things in their life and just be the best person they can be and help others along the way. And I don't know that I necessarily found the Standard that night, but the next day I went on Instagram and saw an ad for it. So there's definitely some targeted marketing there. But I was like, wait, hold on. I know Hafiz. I was like, I watched The Roommates. I know what this guy's about. Right. And so I was like, okay, let me check this out. So I checked it out and applied, and here we are.
That's a great story. Kind of similar, just because since we're talking about that, because when I initially interviewed for, because I actually wasn't familiar with who he was or like anything about it. But as we're doing the interview, he's like telling me the name, and I'm like Googling it, and I'm kind of like doing like a little bit of a look through at him and everything else. So like I'm kind of selling myself into it as I'm, because I was kind of in the same boat. Yeah, I was in the same. I've had conversations with friends where it's like, it almost feels a little vain to say it, but like at a certain point, when you push yourself to a certain level, at some point you're kind of looking to your left and your right, and you're like, nothing against the people around me, but
no, there's nothing against them at all. And that's exactly how we felt. We were like, man, okay, we have all these things we want to go do. Like, we want to go see this part of the world, but we can't invite our friends because they can't go. Sure. They can't take time off work. They don't do, they're just not driven to go do it. So it's like, where do you find that? And you get it.
Right. And they're not experiencing the same problems you are either. So it's a little hard. I mean, it's not everyone that experiences like what a COVID downturn like looks like, or luckily for me, I was in the military at the time of COVID. So I just got like a 4-week vacation. So the best place to weather.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But no, that's a really good story. So now since joining, what's that experience been like? Have you been able to find that community?
Yeah. Whenever I joined, one of the things I wanted to focus on was fitness, getting back into it. Probably about 8 years ago, I weighed 350 pounds. Oh, wow. And I was at a point where I was like, you know what? Nothing's getting better in life. I feel pretty burnt out. And I was like, this might be the day I just take a bullet, and that's a wrap. Okay. And it wasn't because we weren't getting successful work-wise. It was just, I had nothing. I just felt so horrible. Right. Like, nothing felt good. I just wanted to sleep and eat. So it was there was nothing left for me. So I was like, okay, well, I just sat there and prayed to God one night, and I was like, I got to find something. There's got to be something here. Like, I grew up in the church. There's got to be something. God's still got my back. I just got to figure out what it is.
Right.
And this one motivational YouTube video played after that. And it was like just, picking yourself up from the very bottom. And I was like, okay. So I watched that, and it was like 6 minutes. And then I was like, okay, well, and it auto-played a video after it. And I was like, okay, I'll listen to that. So anyways, I ended up staying up for like 16 hours that night, just going down this rabbit hole. And that rabbit hole took me to throwing everything in my kitchen away. I got up that morning, went and signed up for a gym membership.
Okay.
I was like, I know I got to do something. I was like, I got to start. I'm just going to go run around my neighborhood. And maybe made it a 1/10 of a mile and was gassed. And I was like, okay, well, I know.
Gotta start somewhere.
I was like, I got to start somewhere. So we can get out here and we can go walk, and we'll get this eventually. And then I was going to the gym 5 days a week and getting into it. And then eventually, got down to a point during COVID where I was like at 160, and I was like, okay, I feel relatively. I was like, this is probably the lightest I've been since high school. So
Dang.
I was like, but I don't feel strong. I was like, I need to work out. So I started working out again. Then I was like, okay, well, now I'm eating a little bit more. And then I ended up having a hip injury, and then I was kind of sidelined for a while, and then I went back up to like 250. And whenever I got back in, it's like, I got to drop weight. I got to get back into it. I got to get back into all this. It's like, I used to be an ultra runner where I could run 100-mile races.
Sure.
So I was like, I got to get back into it. And, since getting in the gains chat, and lost 20 pounds. So
Very good.
We're getting back into it.
What's your kind of relationship? Do you see anything kind of correlating between like what your fitness level is and how you just perform on a day-to-day basis and like work, relationships, or anything else?
No, even whenever I wasn't super healthy, this time around, I was still doing something, like whether it was walking. I'm on my feet a lot at work anyway.
Sure.
I still go to the gym a couple times a week. So I'm always doing something, but actually eating healthier, staying cleaner, not going out and drinking. It makes a world of difference when you can focus more at work.
I want you to talk about that dark moment in your life, like from when that moment where you had that kind of come to Jesus moment that you decided to turn everything around. What was going on with like, your relationships, the business, everything else? Like, let's talk about what was going on around that time.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So super dark. I actually thought I had something good going on. I thought life was starting to turn around that 25, 26 age range. Okay. I was engaged, had a fiance, we had a nice little apartment. We were planning for a house. We had all of our family over to celebrate on New Year's, and I wake up the next morning and she's gone, like just disappeared.
Oh man.
Didn't know, nobody knew where she was. Her family didn't know where she was, and nobody knew what was going on. I'm just kind of sitting there like, what the hell's going on? I don't hear from her for a month. And I'm like, man. She calls me and she's like, hey, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, okay. She's like, it's not yours. And I'm like,
that's a blow.
Okay. Oh, I was like, how do I react to this? Like, what do I do? So I got drunk, ate a lot of food. It was just a real bad time. At the same time, my grandma got cancer, and they gave her 6 months to live. So my dad at the time was working a lot, and I was in my other career, so it didn't really make too much of a difference. I'd be home during the day. So I moved back home to take care of her. So since I was working overnight, I could get up during the day, help her out. And she was kind of like a mom to me anyway, growing up, since my mom had a rough pregnancy with my sister, and she's 2 years younger than me. Yeah. So she kind of raised me from like 2 to 4 in that age range. So I always looked to my grandma as a mom. So to me, it was like, this is my chance to return the favor. I can take care of her. So I went back and lived with her, and she ended up living 6 years. So like that helped, because she had a very positive outlook on life. Like death wasn't a thing for her. She was like, no, whenever I die, whenever this takes me, I want y'all to have a party, have margaritas, like celebrate for me. This is my life. Like, I want y'all to be happy. Like, we had great times. Why would you be sad? Like, I want my legacy to be remembered as happy, not sad.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I totally get that. Totally get that. But then after all that went down, started working with my dad, doing all that again. Everything was just very complacent because I was just kind of, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just going to get a good roll with the flow. Man, these people in the office are lazy. Man, do I really want to change this? Do I just want to keep riding this? My dad's been successful. He's doing his thing. I'm just kind of coast on it. I didn't really have any motivation for myself at the time. So I was just kind of there, not really thinking a whole lot about it. Got another girlfriend that I thought would be a fiance eventually. No, she cheated on me too. So I was like, man, it's got to be because I'm overweight or I'm just, I don't know. That was a real big sticking point for me. I was like, all right, well, what can I do? What can I do? I really don't know. I have no idea. I'm just like, what? How did I let myself get to this place? I'm just sitting at home in my apartment one day and I'm like, there's just no way out. Like, I have no motivation to go work out. I have no motivation to do how am I going to change this? This doesn't make any sense. And that's whenever I was like, okay, well, it's either I'm going to end it tonight or I'm just going to pray and see what happens and we'll see what the outcome is. And yeah, I prayed and Jesus led me the right way. So that's the only way can't be more thankful for him.
That's a really powerful story. What do you think the Lord was speaking to you around that time that helped you get out? Because I feel like a lot of people, they'll go to that dark place and either they'll stay complacent forever or, they will take the easy option out. What do you think was the key thing that propelled you in the right direction?
I always got tough love from my parents growing up. So it was, it was their generation, that boomer generation, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So you can't take any of this stuff seriously, get over it. And for me, I was more emotional then. And I was like, nah, man, this is weighing heavy on me. So, I tried therapy. That didn't do anything for me. As much as I would like to think it would, it absolutely did not. But it was talking to God. And it was like, okay, what's the message I'm going to get from that? And then it turned into a bunch of YouTube motivational stuff that ended up pushing me in a good direction. But then I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, my grandma didn't sacrifice everything she did for me to do this. She didn't help my dad build this company. She didn't do all the things that she did for my grandpa. My dad didn't do all this to watch me do this. My sister has a rare, incurable disease that only 100 people have. So she's never going to be able to do what I can do. So how am I going to make this legacy go anywhere? And it's either I end it now and this just dies with me, or we can extend this out into the future.
Okay. So what was the YouTube? What was the video that you saw? Do you remember?
I could look it up. I have no idea.
I'm curious because that's a heck of a motivational video.
It was like 6 minutes of motivation if you're at rock bottom or something like that. And it was just a 6-minute couple of clips, like it was the Rocky clip where he's talking to his son,
It's just what you needed.
Life's going to beat you down. It was everything I needed to hear right at that moment.
Okay. That's really great. I'm glad. And
sure. The thing is, I didn't even search for that on YouTube. I just opened YouTube and it was there.
Okay.
So
God's everywhere.
God's
even
everywhere.
In YouTube.
God's everywhere.
Okay. Well, so you did get that turnaround. You started, moving up from there. How do you feel? Do you feel like there's a correlation between, kind of the route coming out of that and all the other areas in your life? Like what pieces did you have to pick up first, and then before you could pick up the other pieces? You said therapy didn't necessarily do anything. So what's kind of the first thing you started on?
That didn't do anything. Again, it was just being consistent. It was changing the eating habits, getting into the gym, being consistent with all that. Like, there's I can't remember his name right now. It's going to come to me later. It's going to drive me nuts. But anyways, I know his first name's Eric, and he eventually became a PhD. It took him 12 years, but he didn't graduate high school. And he was super motivational back then on YouTube. And he had a thing that he was always talking about, he's like, my dad always told me, time comes at you fast. He's like, but you got to be able to manage it because even the most successful person can do whatever they want in 24 hours. He's like, so I started paying attention to how people react. He's like, I just sat there and I was like, okay, well, these successful people, I noticed they're all getting up at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Like everybody else I knew was getting up at 9. He's like, why? He's like, oh, well, they've already watched the news cycle, so they know what the hell's going on in the world. So I should probably get up earlier. Okay. And he's like, I got up earlier. I started working out, and I started seeing stuff in my life change. And he's like, but I wanted more change. So I was like, you know what? The next year I'm going to get up at 4. And the next year I'm going to get up at 3. And the next year, damn near, I don't sleep, but I got so much motivation to do everything in my life. And I was like, well, okay, you know what? If I don't have to be at work, back then I didn't have to be at work till 8. So I was like, okay, well, if I get to the gym by 6, I can get up at 5:30. I can go work out for an hour and a half, and then I can take a shower, go to work. Okay? And the next year I was like, you know what? I could do more work if I just get up at 4 and go in. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens if I get up at 4. And then for a while, I was getting up at 3, and I was like, you know what? I think 4 is the sweet spot. And so I think a 4 is pretty good sweet spot right there. So if I can get up at 4 in the morning, and I can go in and get this workout for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it might be, have some time to meditate, relax, think about what I want to do for the day, before I get to work, I'm already leagues ahead of everybody else.
No, I think for a lot of people, I know for myself, like the physical element usually is the first catalyst to everything else. Like when you start off, you know, doing some sort of exercise or getting your body and mind to the right place, like the rest of the day kind of flows out in a good direction from there. 100%. Although I was in the military beforehand, so we would like, there was a point where PT started at like, I think the earliest was like 5:30, and I had to get through traffic, so I had to wake up at 4:30. I was like, the gym will start no earlier than 6 a.m. And that's been...
Yep, there you go.
But hey, but I do think it's a useful tool. If nothing else, just for your mental bandwidth. It helps.
No, I just think for me personally, being somebody who worked in the nightlife world for so long, before switching to the corporate side of that, I knew what it was like to be up all night. So that wasn't an issue, but I never got anything accomplished. Like I never felt like I was dealing with the real world. I felt like I was just dealing with people that just lived in entertainment, like people who are going out spending their money because they want to have fun. Well, that's all well and good, and you can make a ton of money doing that, but at the same time, I wasn't going to be able to do it myself. I was working for somebody else. Yeah. I was like, you know what? All these people are, listening to this stuff about getting up early. Let's get up early. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make excuses if I go to work on why I can't work out after work. Oh, it's a long day. I'm tired. If I do it before work, that just changes the game. So I was like, now I got to flip it. If I was getting off work at 4, well, I'm just going to get up at 4.
From what you've told me, you took the company from 800,000 to now about like 10 million. One thing I wanted to ask you is, do you think there's any difference between taking a company from like a 6-figure to a 7-figure to now to an 8-figure income type business? Were there any adjustments you had to make at those different levels? Do you feel like it's a different game at each of those levels? Like how did that progression look?
Yeah, each of those levels is totally different. So, I mean, just 6-figure business, there's probably a lot of people in the Western world that could get by just handling a few customers. Like I'll just take a customer in Oklahoma. They're on replenishment. They order once every month. Their order, they do great. They have 3 stores, and they order 6 figures worth of revenue every year. So, I mean, that's just one customer. So what happens if you have 50 of those or 100 of those? Or you can get into a chain store and develop them into a program where they can learn something totally different. So kind of what we implemented was the opposite of everybody else. Everybody else went... We want to sell you as much as we can right now, and then whenever you need more, you can just reorder. We don't want you to do that. We want you to buy what you need so you have low inventory, we can have low inventory, and we'll build your model out. Say you want 15 different styles, that's fine. Just order ones of them. When you sell it, we'll refill it. So if you can have less inventory, you're having less overhead to manage that inventory, you're having more options for your customers, you have more styles, they have more options, they can pick out different things, and your customer base is going to tell you what sells. If something doesn't sell, you only got one of it, so get rid of it. We can keep doing that year in, year out. Now, for a bigger company, sure, it's more challenging because they want to carry more. They're going to have more customers, so it gets a little bit tricky with them. But at the same time, it's the same thing, just scaled up. So I have one store on the West Coast that they have 30 stores, and they carry 7 styles. Well, whenever we started with them, they carried 2. So they wanted to give it a shot and see, okay, I got these 2 styles. How can we do that? How does this process work? Are they going to screw us around like everybody else? And now we have very minimal inventory, and now I'm going to have to buy so much more from somebody else because now I'm out of stock. Well, no, they would just reorder on Monday. We'd ship it to them by Thursday or Friday. They'd have it for the weekend. And they were, oh, this is great. This is the best thing ever. So let's just add more. And then they'll keep buying cheaper stuff from other companies that are in Mexico or China. And well, we have this good American stuff that we can sell at a little bit higher price point, and we'll go that route. And they can fill us in every week. So I'm not waiting for an order that might take 3 or 4 months to get to me.
Okay. So that's on that level. Then when you're going up to the next like kind of levels, what needs to change?
Next level is the same thing, but it's a lot more customer service involved. Like I can do that in my sleep all day long, just dealing with that one-off customer and build them into a 6-figure revenue. As far as dealing with like our number one customer, they do probably $4 million a year. So developing them into that, my dad taught the original person that we worked with as a buyer how to, basically he taught him everything about hats whenever he was a kid. Mm-hmm. He was working at a store that my dad worked with in the rodeo world, and they were at Cheyenne Frontier Days, and he was like, you know what, let me teach you about this about hats because you don't know anything. You just took over this one really successful store in Cheyenne, but you don't know how to do all this stuff. But I got the experience, let me teach you. So he's like, yeah, no, that'd be great. So he taught him everything there was to know about straw, everything there was to know about wool and felt. And he's like, man, this is great knowledge. So eventually that company grew to 11 stores. And then eventually they had a buying group that bought them out. And that buying group now owns 700 stores, and he became the buyer. So we set him up for success. And in turn, he returned that favor and said, you know what, this guy's taking care of me. He knows how to do all this stuff. And then I've worked with all the successors after, well, I worked with him too, but I worked with all his successors after him. And it's the same thing. People nowadays, they don't really know anything about hats. I could sell the cheapest hat in the world for $1,000 if I wanted to. But the person who just looks at a spreadsheet and goes, man, these numbers look phenomenal. Well, why do they look phenomenal? I'm not selling you stuff you don't need. I'm selling you exactly what you want, what you sold this week, that week, this week, and we're just filling it back in. So it's just a higher scale model of the person who's got 2 different styles versus the person who's got 30 and replenishing that on a thousands upon thousands a week scale. So yeah, it's a higher scale. Yeah, it's bringing in more people. Yeah, it's teaching more people about how to make hats. And learning how to source machinery and having all that stuff on the back end.
So, when you say it, it sounds relatively simple enough, just increasing the scale, increasing all these things.
It's not, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not, exactly. Well, that's kind of the point I'm getting to is it sounds simple when you explain it. Why do you feel like a lot of people have issues making that transition to the higher levels?
There was a lot of trial and error with that.
Okay.
A lot. Like I said, the original EDI system that everybody used was not a very user-friendly system, and it worked on like Windows 10. Oh no, I'm sorry, it worked on Windows XP. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we're going back. And then they kind of went out of business, and then a couple of new providers came in, and they started revolutionizing how you could do electronic orders, and that kind of sped up the game for a lot of people, and everybody kind of developed their own proprietary software, and doing that made everything easy because then we could get all of our systems to link up, talk together on the back end. And instead of us having to spend more money having somebody else outsource it, because all of them tried to sell you their own software so that they own it, you don't have any say-so. No, we just had our IT guys build a code that could work around that, and we could have our own system. So we can work with everybody's and not have to pay for it because we already bought it.
Okay. So, because I know whenever I talk to a lot of other business, it seems relatively simple. You take a business that has some more like analog systems where you add some like AI components, some updated, customer service metrics and all. Like these all sound relatively simple in theory, but yet what I see a lot is whenever I go to a lot of businesses or just talk to people, there's just so many things that are keeping them from going to that next level. Do you think it's an ignorance thing? Do you think it's a mindset thing? Or what do you think why you think a lot of people have issues trying to make that transition?
I think there's a lot of different reasons behind that. I think a lot of people are scared of growth, to be honest.
Okay.
I think that's something I'm dealing with right now too. So if you would have told me I would have a problem trying to be able to store enough stuff in my warehouse to be able to source all the customers I have and having to turn customers down, I would have told you you're crazy. But here we are. So it's dealing with a different challenge, and it's not an easy one because it's hard to tell people no. It's easy to say yes all the time to everybody, that you can do everything to accommodate every customer and make them happy. And unfortunately, in the real world, it's not.
Sure. Well, what do you think is your biggest bottleneck right now from getting to that next level?
Right now, we don't have enough space. So that's as simple as that is. Can I hire more people and train them? Absolutely. Do I have experience in my factory that can do that? Sure. I have like 5 people that have been with me for over 40 years. So they raised me when I was a kid. One of the ladies in the front that works whenever she wants because she's in her 80s now, she's got all the experience in the world. She babysat me in the factory when I was 2. So, I grew up with her. I know her. She's like my grandma.
Right.
So it's just one of those little things. But yeah, it's just challenging for everybody. So for us, it's about building a new warehouse on the side of the warehouse we currently have. And again, same thing. My dad's always said it a million times. He's like, my grandpa told me, this machinery doesn't exist. If you see some, buy it. And that was the first lesson he took, is he said, okay, well, we're only making straw hats in the 70s when he was working there. Well, a company went out of business that had felt machinery, and he said, you know what? They're out here scrapping it on the curb. And he goes, what are y'all scrapping this for? And they go, we're scrapping it for 4 cents a pound. He said, I'll give you 10 cents a pound if you'll let me go get a trailer. They said, deal. You can have it. And that's how we got in the felt world. So it's just a matter of, you got to catch those breaks when you can. It's kind of like how we're expanding right now. A company went out of business because the generation currently doesn't want to run it.
Okay.
I understand why, because they're in a small town in Pennsylvania that's 2 hours outside of any major city. It's mostly an Amish town. There's only one place you can go for pizza and beer, and they have college degrees and they want to go into IT. So I understand that they don't want to work in a factory. It's not an easy life. They had their choice, so they decided they were going to sell. They sold everything. We went and bought as much machinery as we could buy.
One man's loss, another man's treasure, I guess.
That's exactly right. And some of it's machinery we don't know how to operate, but we're going to learn.
But you saw the growth opportunity. You're like, what?
We saw the opportunity, and we're like, wait, we got more orders than we can handle. Why not take a shot and do this? And we'll go ahead and invest this $2 million to build this new building. We'll go ahead and invest this hundreds of thousands of dollars in the new machinery, and we'll be prepared.
But I think it taps into this mindset that when a lot of people are faced with that kind of challenge or a problem or challenge, a lot of the way they react to it, because you saw something whereas a lot of people saw it as more of a liability, I guess, if you're going to call it that. Sure. Like, we don't know what to do with this. This isn't exactly what we want to do with this. It's more of a liability. You saw an opportunity and kind of the grit to be able to bring it forth. Do you think that's the main, like, how would you define, like, what do you think is like your number one characteristic that's enabled you to like make these right decisions at these like critical decision points?
I just think back to all the stuff we did in bowling centers back in the day. It was like you would focus on a certain type of customer, then you would focus on a different one, and then if you got lost in the weeds, you would just lose money. You'd leave people on a wait list. You would not catch them and sell them the right food and beverage. There was just lots of different ways to miss opportunities. So I think just going into it now, to what I've experienced over the last 18 years, it's kind of like I just look at everything, and we're in the same factory, but are we growing or are we staying still? Because if we're staying still, somebody else is going to come along. Okay. I don't have a choice. I've seen probably at least 30 Mexican companies pop up in the last 18 years. Do they all survive? No.
Right.
But do they try? Yeah, absolutely, because they're going to try to undercut us and sell something cheaper. Well, guess what? They put tariffs on them. That didn't work. That didn't help them. Helped us because we didn't have to go up in price.
Sure. So it sounds like you see the world as, hey, listen, if I'm not taking this opportunity, somebody else is going to.
Absolutely.
And so if someone else is going to, might as well be me.
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
If we have the opportunity to grow, we're going to grow.
okay. No, that's great.
And if that means in 10 years I'm building a new factory somewhere else, then so be it.
Why do you think you're able to kind of push through those barriers when other people don't?
My dad did it. I watched him do it as a kid.
Okay.
So again, our factory now is 5 times bigger than the one he had that his grandpa started. What did he see? I got 77 people crammed in this tiny building. I can design my own factory that's actually made to make hats and not just a warehouse space that they originally had and they were making it all by hand. So he saw the chance to go out and go, okay, cool. I just bought all this machinery from a company going out of business. I can custom design my own warehouse and make it in a way that's going to have a good flow so that you don't waste as much time. We're not having to do everything 100% by hand. It's not as old school. We can add in a couple of automations. I have a buddy who's a mechanic across the street at the craft factory. He can invent stuff for me, and he invented a ton of stuff. So it's just one of those things. You got to take that chance or you're just going to never grow. You're going to be in the same place you were at.
Okay. So you see a sort of, I want to say like a scarcity. It's in a sense you see scarcity, but another way you see abundance. It's like there's only so much opportunity, but it's easy. I wouldn't say it's easy because there's always a risk to everything you do, but it seems like you're able to capitalize on those decisions and just keep pressing forward.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, I remember when I had nothing in life. It's the trials and tribulations of being a man. It's just growing throughout life. Like I remember post-college working at a bowling center. Look, you think anybody wants to, while you're going through that and growing up, you think you want to work till 4 or 5 a.m., get home at 6 and sleep all day? You have no social life. You have no friends. You're just related. All you have is whoever you work with, and that's it. I mean, it's kind of like that when you're working a ton anyway, but there's an extra life outside of that. But yeah, when you're working overnight, just trying to survive and make it and, make your come up, and everybody that you're hanging out with is a bar person, and so everybody's drinking, everybody's eating fast food, nobody's, again, that led to everything that made me unhappy, that made me gain a ton of weight. Again, the one thing they don't teach you about being a high school athlete and then hopefully would have been college athlete, but blew my ACL my freshman year, so that never transitioned into anything. They don't teach you how to eat. They don't teach you that you can't go out and party. They don't teach, that stuff doesn't exist. Please, the amount of work we did, because my junior year we won a state championship in high school.
What sport was it?
Football.
Football, okay.
So,
what position?
I played defensive end and linebacker.
Okay. So you got some punishment out in the field.
Oh yeah. But nobody told you whenever you stop and you've been eating 5,000 calories a day to maintain what you're doing, you keep eating 5,000 calories, you're going to gain a lot of weight real quick.
Sure.
And that absolutely happened for me.
Okay. You're talking about a little bit earlier about the conference, and I know they're talking a lot about legacy and, the Legacy and Wealth podcast. Yep. What does the term legacy mean to you? Legacy
to me is going to be who I'm going to be remembered by, how I'm going to be remembered, and what my company is going to stand for.
Okay. What are you hoping that it's going to stand for?
I hope it's going to stand for something that was made in America, that was built and founded by people who wanted others to be better.
Okay. And why is that important? I know a lot of people talk about, made in America and all these different things. Why does that matter to you?
It matters to me because there's so much that's outsourced that we've just kind of given up over the last 30 to 40 years. And I've seen it in the people that I work with. I've seen it in the people that my customers work with. I see it. The hat world's a very small world. It's very niche. It's not like there's a million people doing this.
Sure.
I feel like there's a lot more doing it now, but that's just a product of how busy it is. Yeah. But there's a lot of employees that work between the 3 companies in Garland, because it's not just us. Garland's the hat capital of the world. So I see the people that get laid off. I see the people that try to come to us from a different company, and they'll tell us something about this company, how they're being treated, how they were just a number over there. And we're family. Like, we're family. I give a Christmas gift to all my employees. Like, I want them to feel like I care about them. They can come talk to me at any time. I'm never too busy for them. They can stop me on the floor, ask a question about anything. Like, it's family.
Okay, that's great. What's your family life like right now?
Me and my fiance live in Dallas. We're both in our mid-40s.
Okay.
We do not have kids. We have no plans for kids. So.
Okay. But is there a date set up yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, in that case, going from the company just to yourself, how do you personally want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for somebody who gave back.
Okay.
Like, if I wanted to take a huge salary, I could, but I would rather give back to my employees and see them become more prosperous, see them and their family have a better life.
What sort of advice would you give to those that want to create a legacy, as far as how do you ensure that something like that can endure and be passed down from generation to generation? What are some things that you've done, your dad, your grandparents, like what are some things you've seen that have enabled that business to last for as long as it has?
Well, one thing I'll say that I did learn from Hafiz was that most companies go out of business in the third generation. The grandpa built it, sure. Dad maintained it, son basically ruins it because they just get lazy. They don't know the business. So I think,
which is kind of interesting because it's been the opposite for years.
After hearing that, I never even thought about it like that because I was like, wait, I work in my business every single day. Like I spend half my time in the office with clients and I spend the other half my time working with my employees. So to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then looking into it, I'm like, oh, wow, that really does happen. Like that is a thing that people just get lazy as they've made money. And
sure.
That was the one thing my dad instilled in me as a kid was, you're going to know the value of $1. None of this is handed to you. I'm not going to let you come in here and just take whatever salary you want. You got to earn it. So I think just in that process in general, you just got to be willing to be hands-on and keep pushing because everything's going to change. Everything's going to be complicated. And if you want a happy life, nothing's going to be easy.
No, that makes sense. It's funny that you're talking about sometimes it's like the grandpa built it, the dad kind of maintains, and whereas for you guys, it seems like the opposite. Like
it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite.
Which is a really, really cool thing. Okay. Well, and why do you think that? Do you think it's primarily because of the experience you had at the other companies, or was there already like a deep love for the thing that they had already built?
I think for my grandpa, for him, it was a very simple motive. He didn't graduate from 6th grade. He was a farmer. He didn't want to work on a farm.
Sure.
So for him, getting into a factory was a huge step up. It was more job security for him. For my dad, it was a risk because he had 4 degrees. He was like, I can do whatever I want.
Sure.
I can be a football coach the rest of my life. And then maybe I can be successful, maybe I won't, but I got a good job and I'll get teacher retirement. But if I take this risk and don't sell this company, maybe I have a shot at something great. So he said, I'm going to take the risk and we'll see what happens. And it just, after about 4 years, it paid off for him. And he started getting some good clients and things took off. And it wasn't just him and 4 people anymore. He built it up to 77. So they were relatively successful as well. And they did great until another company tried to buy out their biggest client, and tried to put them out of business. Well, they didn't do anything with that client, so we're able to do stuff with them and work with them in the future. Yeah. And same thing, I came in 2008 thinking, well, I have no idea what's going to happen because it's like he had to take a giant step back. I had to take a giant step back because, again, I was a regional vice president working 40 hours a week. I loved that. And then I come to a job where I'm working with my hands and now I'm working 80 hours a week, making a lot less. So sure. For me, it was just like, all right, well, it's time to get dirty and put up or shut up.
Okay. No, that's great. Well, this is a really incredible story. I like everything you had to say. For people that want to buy a hat, I want to buy a hat after this and watch some Yellowstone. So, so for everyone that wants to go in and look at some of your merchandise, how can they go and take a look at that?
Anybody in this group is way more than welcome to come to our factory anytime. I'd be happy to show you guys around.
Sure.
I've already told a couple of guys they're more than welcome to come in anytime. We'll custom make them a hat. We'll do whatever you want. I mean, I'm pretty open about any of that. You can find us online, masterhatters.com. Fairly simple website. Same thing. All the social medias are the same thing, at Master Hatters on Instagram,
Okay.
Master Hatters of Texas on Facebook. So we can do it all.
What about for you? How can people find you online?
You can find me. Yeah, I mean, you can reach me at Master Hatters on Instagram. You can also reach me at my work Instagram, which is at Master Hatters Matt, and I'll respond to you on there.
Okay. Wait, I really appreciate your time and I appreciate your story. And yeah, thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.